If you recognize the tiny piece of machined metal on your screen, you probably also remember the sudden sting of a fast-moving propeller. You are looking at the classic miniature engine that powered the model airplanes of your childhood. It ran on highly volatile fuel. It produced a deafening, high-pitched scream. It had zero safety guards, and it punished carelessness on a regular basis. Today, modern society looks at an object like this and immediately calls it child endangerment. But decades ago, we just called it a toy. Over the next 10 minutes, we are going to explore exactly what happened when the regulators decided these machines were too dangerous for you to own, because the people who banned them did not just kill a popular hobby. By wrapping childhood in bubble wrap, they accidentally engineered a generation of helpless consumers. They traded the harsh lessons of the physical world for the dead-eyed swipe of a glass screen. This is not just a story about a model airplane. This is the story of the dangerous machines that built America's last capable men, and exactly who stole them from us. To understand what we actually lost, you have to look at what these things were. They were not collections of soft, snap-together plastic blocks designed to protect your feelings. They were functioning, internal combustion engines that sat right in the palm of your hand. They were masterpieces of miniature engineering, built to incredibly tight tolerances, and the ritual to start them was an absolute initiation. You did not push a button, and you did not download an application to make them work. You had to hook up specialized starting equipment and handle potent, combustible fuels. You filled the tiny tank. You connected the power to heat the ignition element. You primed the system, and then you had to physically flick the sharp propeller by hand to get it spinning. Most of the time, it fought back. The engine would kick, the blade would smack your hand, and the harsh fuel would sting your skin. But you did not quit. You could not run inside crying because you would just be told to brush it off and go back outside. So you sucked it up, ignored the stinging, made a microscopic mechanical adjustment, and you tried again. When it finally caught, when that sputtering cough turned into a screaming wail and the smoke plumed out of the exhaust, that was pure victory. The unforgettable smell of the combustion exhaust would stick to your clothes for days. It was a smell that meant you had taken a piece of cold metal, applied the laws of physics, and brought it to life with your own two hands. It was an entirely unforgiving teacher. If you adjusted it wrong, it bogged down and died. If you pushed it too hard, you cooked the engine and destroyed it. You had to learn how to listen to a machine. You had to diagnose complex mechanical problems by ear and by vibration. It taught you spatial reasoning and the absolute reality of physical consequence. When your model slammed into the asphalt at high speed, there was no undo button. You swept up the shattered pieces, you gathered your glue, and you spent the next week rebuilding it from scratch. The danger was not a flaw in the design. The danger was the teacher. But eventually, the adults decided they knew better than the boys. As the years passed, the world started to shrink. The open dirt lots and empty fields where you used to fly on weekends were paved over and turned into manicured, heavily regulated suburbs. And with those suburbs came the noise complaints. The local homeowners associations did not like the loud, screaming engines interrupting their quiet mornings. Then came the safety commissions. The bureaucrats looked at these miniature engines and they panicked. They looked at the chemical fuels and worried what might happen if someone ingested them. They looked at the spinning parts and worried about scraped hands. They could not comprehend that children of that era actually possessed common sense. We knew how to handle these things because we were not idiots. We learned to keep our hands clear because getting hit hurt. It was a self-correcting problem. But the safety-first crowd won the war. They regulated and shamed the authentic mechanical hobby out of existence. They demanded that toys be made foolproof, quiet, and completely sanitized. They decided that a few scrapes and bruises were simply too high a price to pay for mechanical literacy. So, the industry pivoted to appease the regulators. They gave us silent electric motors, powered by batteries. They gave us ready-to-fly foam planes that you pull out of a cardboard box and launch in seconds. If it crashes, internal computers automatically correct it. If it breaks, you do not fix it. You just throw it in the trash and order a new one on the internet. There is no tuning. There is no building. There is no noise, no smell, and absolutely no soul. They successfully removed the friction from childhood. But what they failed to realize is that when you remove the friction, you also remove the fire. The boys who grew up with calluses and scraped hands from playing with these engines did not grow up to be criminals or deviants. They grew up to be the men who built the modern world. They became the mechanics who keep our commercial jets in the sky. They became the engineers who designed the aerospace technology we rely on every single day. They became the tradesmen and the fathers who could fix a broken-down car on the side of the highway with basic tools and a prayer. They learned how to fix the world because a tiny, screaming engine taught them that the world is fixable, but only if you have the patience to tune it. Look at the generation that inherited the sanitized world. We wrapped them in bubble wrap. We gave them glowing screens that offer instant gratification with zero physical effort. We made sure they never got hurt, never got dirty, and never had to rebuild something they broke with their own two hands. And the result is a generation of young adults who have panic attacks if their wireless internet connection goes down. We have raised young men who have to watch an internet video tutorial to figure out how to use simple hand tools. We have created a society of helpless consumers who view the physical world as something terrifying and unpredictable, rather than something they can master. The people who banned your toys thought they were saving children. They did not realize they were destroying competence. You are not just nostalgic for a noisy little airplane. You are mourning the loss of a society that actually trusted boys to become men. You are grieving a time when competence was earned through consequence. But these miniature engines were not the only casualties of the modern era. They were just one teacher in a childhood that was full of them. So, I want you to go down into the comments right now and tell me, what was the other dangerous thing you owned? What was the thing that burned you, shocked you, or scarred you that actually taught you how the real world works? What is the one thing you had that, if you handed it to a 10-year-old today, would make their parents call the police immediately? Tell me what it was, and tell me the exact lesson it taught you that a child today will never learn. Drop it in the comments below, because someone needs to keep the record of how we actually learn to survive. Subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in the next one.